Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 9. This
Mhm.
title is in French. I'm not going to try to say it.
Bonjour.
There you go. Okay, so I think this episode is one to come out of with a lot of sort of mixed feelings because I like a lot of what they did. I mean,
Mhm.
the Nate stuff in particular, it's Nate going to get dismissed from West Ham. Like, there's a big topic there, but I would not begrudge anyone who is sort of out there feeling, I don't know, a little bit perturbed about the fact that we only have 3 episodes left this season. There's no guarantee of anything more than that. And it's kind of like, where's the big Ted story? Where's the Rebecca story? It's just like there's so much that they still need to get to.
Yeah, I mean, this episode gave us very little of Rebecca, very little of Ted. It was a big Colin episode. And I mean, of course, we needed to get into this episode and have some resolution with everything that happened last week with his phone, with Isaac, how Isaac reacted. We didn't really know what was behind that reaction, and now we do.
So all that is out there in the open. Like that part of this is good. Let's give us something more here, Ted Lasso. But okay, before we dive any further into this, Jess and I recently started a Patreon if
Mhm.
you guys are unaware, and we have a link to that in the description below. And we have a Ted Lasso video over there that is all about what could potential spin-offs be
Mhm.
for this show. I mean, if you love Roy Kent, I mean, it's pretty clear they're potentially setting the stage for something. We get into that in all sorts of ways in that video. We also have over there some other fun tiers, other exclusive videos, including on Succession, who could run the company there. You can get
Yeah.
your name at the end of one of these videos. We'll follow you on our official Twitter and Instagram pages. So thank you so much for the support. We hope you check that out.
Yeah, we really appreciate everybody who has joined our Patreon. It really helps the channel, helps us, upgrade our equipment, keep the lights on,
Yeah.
bring you more videos. And yeah, we have a new Ted Lasso over there, and we're going to be having another one coming up very soon. So head over there and check it out.
Okay. So I want to start here with Nate because Nate is the part of this episode that for me personally, I kind of enjoyed the most. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it is a total, like, I can't believe that we're at this point where Nate has realized that Rupert is the worst, but I feel like they at least put it together in a way that made some sense and
Mhm.
sort of it raises some interesting question marks as to what Nate's going to do now that Rupert is sort of pressuring him, but then also what Rupert is going to do now that Nate is sort of moving away from his authority in a way.
Yeah, I mean, Nate's in a really hard position here because Rupert has gone out with Nate when Nate was single, and Nate knows that Rupert is not single. So while they were out, of course, Nate has seen Rupert with other women. And I think it was a different position when Nate was angry. He was angry at himself. He had a lot of sort of self loathing, and he just didn't care what anybody was doing. There was no real judgment on anything because he was just in such a bad frame of mind. Now Nate is in a different frame of mind where he's not being as hard on himself anymore. He's open to love. He's open to this relationship that he has with Jade is building into something, strong, healthy, loving, something that Nate has a really hard time with letting people love him and him being able to love somebody, and it's going in that direction for him. So we see Jade stop by the office, meet Rupert, who of course is like, "Oh, it's lovely to meet you," ah, ha
Yeah.
ha ha, sort of thing. And then later is really disrespectful about her, basically pretending that he doesn't remember her name. I'm sure that he does. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Kate. Okay, stop that. You're
Yeah.
just whatever." Because he uses the same, nonsense later at the bar where he's just like, "Oh, it's these women," kind of thing. And they're like, "Oh, you got our names mixed up." I'm like, "Okay, we see what you're doing."
Yeah.
But really, for Rupert, this is about himself. He wants to be able to be a bad boy and do these bad things and feel okay about what he's doing. He doesn't want Nate, who's now in, the beginning of a relationship where everything is wonderful and love and then start to look at Rupert like, man, what is he doing? Like, he's with somebody. He has a, family. Like, this is not okay. And so for him to be able to stop that from happening, he invites Nate out to be at this bar with these two women. And Nate decides, of course, no, he's not going to do that. That look that Rupert gave him tells me, everybody put on your tinfoil hat.
All right, all right, all right.
Nate is going to get squeezed out, and he's not going to get fired per se, but I do think that Rupert's going to make things very uncomfortable for him, to the point that Nate is going to make the decision to leave himself. And it's a very weird spot for Rupert to be in too, because Nate is helping them win games. So like why? Like, you didn't need to bring him in the first place to like let him in on all the cheating you're doing.
It's okay. This is why I think it's complicated. And I think Ted Lasso as a show, they can't paint with too broad a brush where it's just sort of like everything is this way or the other way. Either Nate is like fully on board with Rupert's antics and coaches the team, or he's not on board and immediately leaves. Like they need to find some middle ground here, because you did say it, like he is managing West Ham and he is doing a great job. You don't need to, if you're Rupert, you don't need to have an employee who like signs off on everything you do in your personal life in order to be successful and make money. But I recognize what you're saying is probably what's going to happen. He's probably going to get squeezed out, or he's going to get fired, or, Rupert's going to make things difficult on him. It's just sort of, I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking in terms of my own head, where I don't interact with people like Rupert, thankfully, on a day-to-day basis. So I don't understand why someone would be willing to do this, where they're just throw you out the door because you don't agree with everything that I do. It's like, dude, he's making you a good bit of money here. Are you going to go and find some other manager off the street mid-season who can do this for you?
Yeah, I mean, the other option that Rupert might have is he's just not going to give access to himself to Nate anymore. That anytime Nate's going to need him for something, the answer's just always going to be no, and Rupert's just going to be a ghost. And that's going to end up also squeezing Nate out, where he's just not going to feel like he wants to be around that. I mean, it's kind of difficult to be in that kind of a position where it's like, oh, your boss doesn't even really want to be around you or talk to you or whatever. I mean, Rupert, he just doesn't care. For himself, he wants to know that it's okay for him to be in a judgment-free zone, that he can do whatever he wants with whoever he feels like it. And now he's got Nate, who kind of is given this like, no, I'm good. I don't want to, fool around on Jade. I'm not feeling that well. And go
Yeah.
home, right? And it's so awkward now. I just don't know how Nate stays there. Like you said, we only have a couple episodes left. I don't think he's staying there. They needed to put something together to stop that.
Yeah, I could see it being a situation where, as you noted, he gets forced out, or it's a situation where, we all like to do our best work in a environment that feels casual and comfortable to all of us. It's why I work every day in multicolored workout shorts and just very comfortable shirts, and
It's
listen
true.
to weird music that no one other than me likes. And I create.
Listen, sometimes I don't even get out of my pajamas,
Okay, see,
except for these videos.
but
Because then that'd be a very different kind of video if
Oh,
I'm
boy.
here in my pajamas.
Pajama party, everybody. No, okay. Now it's one of these sort of situations though, where if like whatever comfortable work environment Nate had at West Ham, and it doesn't look that comfortable, it looks kind of just gray and awful. But
Yeah.
if it was comfortable to him before, let's say Rupert is like, you don't get the car anymore, or Rupert is just sort of like, sneering at him every time he walks by him. Like, Nate's performance could suffer, his mind could wander, his wonder kid / wonderkind sort of abilities could start to slide out the window, and then all of a sudden he's failing at the job, his team is losing, and then Rupert may have all of the evidence he needs to go and make his decision, because Rupert, you suck at everything. You suck at life. Nobody likes you. You're going to end up alone.
I just want to see it end with not Rupert just firing him. I want to see Nate get to that decision himself where it's like, okay, yeah, I feel good about my job and I feel like I'm doing a really good job with the team, but I can't really stand for a company that's headed by somebody that I just don't feel like respects me or wants me around. Like it's a really bad kind of work environment that he makes the decision to go and talk to Ted and go back because that's where I think we're going.
Can we see them hug it out? Like that's really what I need
I'm
here.
waiting
I
for
need
it.
like the Nate and Jade hug. Don't get me wrong. I love. That was a meaningful hug. I appreciated that. I would appreciate the Nate and Ted hug just so much because we've been waiting so long in order to get it. So okay, well we'll jump here from what's happening with Nate over to what's happening with Ted and with the whole team because I mean a big part of this episode is obviously Isaac is holding on to all of this anger, and it's sort of like, we spelled this out in the last video. Like he's not mad at Colin for being who Colin is. He's
Mhm.
mad because, there was this secret that's been kept from him, and it's not just that they're teammates, they're friends. Isaac doesn't understand it, and they're really taking, I think, from a lot of stories that have happened in real life in this episode where
Mhm.
there are really nasty, sometimes people who have just way too much in the stands who are heckling, then the players go and try to fight them or confront them or all of this stuff. But, it's a single word that is said that really sparks Isaac. And then this kind of sends in just a chain of events that snowballs in the midst of halftime.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the most important part of all of that was really happening was that conversation with Trent, where he was just like, you are probably going to have to give Isaac some time. And
Yeah.
realistically, you shouldn't have to. I mean, it's kind of crappy that we live in this world that you have to give him any time. It should just be fine,
Yeah.
right? But this is where we are right now, and just give him some time. He'll eventually come to you with whatever his problem is. And like you said, eventually comes to Colin is just like, my problem is that you didn't trust me. Like I
Yeah.
thought that our friendship was, stronger than this. We've known each other for so long. Like, why you couldn't trust me with this. And Isaac was making it about him instead of about what Colin was going through.
I think it's very nice to see the two of them work it out. Like the scene at the end of the episode where
So good.
that was great. Like the Q&A session about Colin from Isaac, that felt very believable. That felt fun. It felt like something that was reasonably organic, and I think that the show has kind of stumbled here and there when it comes to taking on a lot of topics this season that they've tried too hard to sort of shoehorn humor in here or there. It's felt a little bit disjointed, but that felt really, really natural. And I
Mhm.
think it was sort of the best part of how they kind of handled all of this. And the trickiest part of all of it for me is I don't know enough about soccer. I know I'm wearing a Richmond shirt. I hate to break this to you, everybody. Richmond's not a real team. I do not know a lot about how red cards work or any of this. All I know is as a big basketball fan, Isaac, I more than understand Isaac's anger. I understand fully why he did what he did, and we saw that
Mhm.
explained in a lot of ways. But if this was a basketball game, and I'm a really big basketball fan, if a basketball player went up like multiple rows in the stands, like they're probably gone at least like 5 or 10 games. Like the punishment for that is pretty severe. I don't know if there's something more coming Isaac's way. If he's just getting a red card and he had to miss that one match, he's really getting off pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah, and I mean, because it's a TV show, my hope is that's all it is. Listen, we only have a couple episodes
Yeah,
left. I don't need Isaac gone for the next episode or two and not playing. Like it's just
yeah.
I'm not here for that. I just want to see now that, him and Colin have talked it out and, they're playing video games and their friendship is back on track. I just want to see him back with the team.
The funniest part in all this to me is I remember back when I think the trailer for this season came out, like there was a screenshot of Sam wearing that captain's bracelet. Everyone on the internet lost their freaking minds over this.
I
There
know.
was this. What happened? Did Isaac get hurt? I guarantee you, no one exactly predicted what was going to happen to cause this to happen. And
No.
I did love very much the On the count of 3, everybody, I love you all so very much.
No, there were some really good laughs in this episode.
There were some really good laughs. I think there were some things that really worked. I will say the one part of the storyline that didn't really work, and it was even sort of called out, was Ted's Denver Broncos analogy, where there was a couple of lines in there that were just sort of funny, but it's just kind of indicative of I think the biggest problem with this season is just that Ted's being played a little bit too folksy. He's being played a little bit too much full of pop culture references, even to me, compared to the first or second season. And okay, just big picture here.
Mm-hmm.
The big difference with season 3 to season 1 and 2 is that 1 and 2 had Bill Lawrence, who you guys probably know from Spin City or Scrubs, or he's done so, but he was sort of the primary day-to-day kind of showrunner. He sort of went off to do more of Shrinking, which another really good show, but that basically left Sudeikis to kind of handle everything with Ted Lasso. And when you were the star, the executive producer, you're handling everything, you're editing. It's like, that's
a lot.
It's a lot for somebody to take on. And there's kind of some moments here or there where it felt like somebody could have reined him in a little bit more. And this is one of those. There's been a couple of other moments this season where like bits or just parts of the show just kind of dragged a little bit more than they had to.
No, I agree. Okay, let's get into quickly the Keeley of it all. So her and Jack are completely done now.
Yes.
She tried texting her a whole bunch of times. Jack ignored her and then finally was like, I'm going to Argentina for a whole bunch of months.
Yeah.
It still kind of leaves up in the air though, like what happens to Keeley's business? Because Jack is this huge primary investor in this business. And if Jack is gone for 3 months, like is she just still giving money to this business and she's just never going to talk to Keeley again? Like it's such a weird, awkward situation for Keeley to be in. I mean, the whole Jack situation in general, I really wish they hadn't done this storyline, and what they had done is just focused on Keeley and her business, because I feel like there was going to be so many comedic moments in there that could have been mined from her building this business, you know, the people in her office, all the different brand deals she's trying to deal with, her friends trying to get in there. There was so much going on. She didn't need to just have another relationship. Like this character is more than that.
Yeah, and Jack just didn't really work. And I mean, at the end of the day, clearly, you know, we weren't exactly meant to be rooting for them. But at the same time, you know, you want to feel like that character's presence is important or significant. And it's this tricky thing because, like, I still want in my heart Keeley and Roy Kent. Like, I can't. Like, their moments and their scenes together, especially in, like, season 2. Like, I loved them so much. They were one of my favorite parts of that season. It's like, that part from like the end of season 1 to like the first half of season 2 is like my favorite Ted Lasso. And it's going to be harder now to have like Keeley, who was just in a relationship, be in a relationship again with Roy in like an episode. And Roy's clearly got a lot on his plate. He's got a lot he has to figure out for himself.
Yeah, I mean, Keeley's just always in a relationship. She was in a relationship with Jamie, then she's in a relationship with Roy, and then she's in a relationship with Jack. I mean, I do want to see her back with Roy, but yeah, if they had just taken out the Jack relationship, I feel like this could have been a better arc for her overall, because now it's almost like just Jack didn't really exist at all. Like she's just back to her business and everything is kind of back to just the way it was before this all happened.
Okay, now Roy Kent, my boy, Roy. Roy, you're here, you're there. Okay, we can't sing the rest of this chant. We'll get demonetized. No, Roy.
Drop the F's in the chat.
Oh, I loved Roy in this episode. I think Roy was great. I want Roy to be my friend. I think we can work through some stuff mentally together.
Go for a bike ride together.
We can go for a bike ride together. We'll figure some stuff out. No, but Roy clearly, I think he actually addressed the biggest problem that a lot of people have had with Roy all season. It's just sort of like, what is going on with him? He loathes himself. And I think a lot of it is that he was a professional footballer for so long that now that he's not one, he doesn't really know what to do. He can just occupy his time with coaching and yelling at Jamie and just sort of have that be it and sort of just tune out everything else and just have this tunnel vision where he can just focus on what's in front of him. That won't hurt him. That will just be fine.
Yeah. And it's like, was so great to see Rebecca just call out this idea that Roy just won't take chances. He just kind of won't get out
Yeah.
from, in front of himself to just put himself out there and find something else in life that he feels good about instead of, as she kind of said, sitting in this, crappy soup where he feels bad about himself all the time and he just can't get out of the way of it and then just complains about it. That he needs to just take that push and start to really get into other things.
This all brings us to Roy's press conference, which is just peak cinema in every single way, starting with some of the nicknames Roy had for the reporters. He had 5 o'clock shadow head. As someone who has had 5 o'clock shadow head before, I appreciated that.
He very much reminded me of Michael Scott when he was having his own thing where he was calling people out by whatever they looked like.
New Trent was what I think he said.
New Trent.
I think he said Goblin King to somebody at the very end of it. But it's like this ridiculous moment. But then he has this story about when he was a younger footballer and this older guy on the team and everything that he was going on with and his own personal life and losing a child and how all that you don't know what's going on in somebody's life. Like, I think that speech was just so well written. I think it's because Brett Goldstein doesn't really, this is a character whose dialogue is mostly just like cursing or grunting. So whenever he gets like a good monologue, he just kills it. That was so good. It hit me in the heart.
Yeah, and it's really nice too to have that type of dialogue out there. And they've touched on a little bit this season as well with everything that happened with Sam. Just the idea that footballers or actors or people who are entertainers in some sort of way, that's all they are, that it's a-okay to say whatever you want to somebody and they just have to take it because they have this element of fame and they're there to entertain you and you just have to take it and take it and take it. And it's a nice reminder from Roy that that's not the case, that there's still people behind them. They still have things going on in their lives. They're just like everybody else, sort of thing, to remind people that it's not just we're here for your entertainment to kick the ball around.
And now we look forward. There are only a few episodes left.
Oh.
What's gonna happen with Ted? He's probably going home to his kid, but how is that gonna happen? Rebecca, you have your prophecy. What is gonna come true with that?
Yeah, there was no movement on that in this episode.
We still have so many questions. Is football always going to be life? Is Danny Rojas going to find his tulip? There is so much.
Yes, those are not questions. That is happening.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out our Patreon, as we mentioned earlier. That link is in the description below, and we will see you here next time.